Hey, what's up? I'm Guy.
This is John.
It's our YouTube channel. Subscribe to it. Give this video a like.
Check out podcast below in the description.
Raiders Colts. This is why we play the games, John. I mean,
Why
seriously.
you lift all them weights.
This is why you lift all them weights. You just watched the program, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, man. This is all you can ask out of the build-up for a football game, I think. And unfortunately, the Raiders shouldn't be in this position, but they are. And it could have been worse. But here they are at 7-5. Baltimore, who plays, is that game Monday night against the Browns?
Yeah.
They're 7-5. Indy's 8-4. Miami is playing the Chiefs this week, and Miami's 8-4. Cleveland, by the way, playing that Ravens game Monday, they're 9-3. So, you have the head-to-head, but you got to keep up with them.
Titans playing the Jags because them and Indy have the same record.
Titans playing the Jags. The Titans are 8-4. What does this mean for the Raiders?
I think it's twofold. One, if they don't win this game, they're not going to make the playoffs, in my opinion. I just don't see a path. And it's irrelevant kind of what happens in the Baltimore Browns game. But if they lose this game and Baltimore were to beat the Browns, I think the Raiders are fucked. It's a double whammy, assuming Titans beat the Jaguars. And Indy, if the Raiders lose this game, that means Indy wins. So it's like, you'd have both the Titans and Indy would be 9-4. The Browns already have 9. This is where, going back, regardless what happens in the Jets, how they got there, they won it. But that Atlanta game's gonna fuck them if they lose this game. Like this would not have been must win if they were 8-4. It would have been a big game,
right?
But we'd be like, well, things can shake out. How do they at 7-6 with a loss to Indianapolis, with Indy with 9, if Tennessee's at 9, and honestly, they would be rooting for Baltimore to lose. And obviously, to me, Miami probably falls out of it. So I'm not even considering them. I'm more considering Baltimore.
They would need Baltimore to lose.
I'm basically looking at it 3 teams for 2 spots. Because the Browns are in. And Raider fans are like, what do you mean? They got 9 fucking wins. And they still play the Jets. So that's 10. Like they're getting to 10. Even if they will 1-3. And I think they're better than that because they play the Giants too. They're going to be favored in the Giants game. So, but if they get to 10, like they're getting in it. 10 and 6 teams don't miss. So they're in. If Indy and Tennessee wins, that means to me both those 2 teams are in, right? At 9-4, they're both going to end up with 10 wins. Whoever doesn't win the division is going to be the wild card spot. And then Baltimore, if they're winning, we've already talked about their schedule. Like they're just in a pretty good spot, and it's pretty clear when you watch them with Lamar. Like that's a 10-win team. It might not be like 13 like it is last year, but the Raiders win this week, they're in good shape.
Yeah.
Then you're just like you start controlling your own destiny. And Guy. It's easily the biggest game Derek's played in 4 years, right? Since that MVP season. Like, this is the biggest game of his career of the contract era. Like, this is it. Like,
he's had some big ones. It's just they keep getting bigger. Right?
Yeah.
Like, the Chiefs game was big. Going into it, that was a big game.
You do get paid a lot of money to win this game. Like they pay you all that money. What was this? Greasy's, you get paid for third down and red zone. And I think from a macro standpoint, quarterbacks get the guys that get paid $25-30 million. I'm basically paying you, obviously, to beat the shitty teams, but to put me in position to beat the good teams, right? To win playoff games, win games that are going to get me into the playoffs against other playoff teams.
And what are playoff games? Playoff games are the games where you may not throw for 350 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Playoff games are the games where it's just going to be a knockdown, drag out, and you might be having a bad day. You might have been sacked 3 times. And this team can do that. They've given up the 3rd fewest passing touchdowns in the league. They're good against tight ends.
Guy, they have clearly
Jonathan
one
Taylor,
of the best defenses in the league.
Your defense stinks. Jonathan Taylor, as long as he's holding on to the football, it's like 5 yards of carries last 2 games.
But here's the other thing, and I've played this guy in fantasy. Hines is a pretty unique little chess piece.
Yeah.
Pittman Jr. has kind of come. I'm watching Pittman Jr. going, God, T.Y.'s
playing all right.
Been making plays. Yeah, so it's like, I actually think if you're the Raiders, you feel good about one thing about this team is like we feel comfortable playing Phillip Rivers. We've done it since Gruden's been here. He has not played well. You feel good about Rivers. The rest of their team, like if the Colts had a good quarterback, I would say the Raiders have no shot.
Yeah, but because they don't, I would argue in some ways the Raiders' ceiling can be higher than the Colts.
I agree.
The problem with that is their defense limits their ability to have a high ceiling. But Phillip can kind of make their defense a little better because he can't move. He helps out a defense that doesn't really get to the quarterback that much.
They do but you know what's weird is the Colts want to play a little like the Raiders, and they really just want to shove it down your throat, running the ball, control the clock, and just play defense. Like
Well,
the Colts they just won the game last week against Texans 26-20. They feel very comfortable in like an ugly game. We've talked about this, and Raider fans know the Raiders do not. Like when they're winning, typically it's like 34-22. You know, it's like it's a little bit higher scoring. They're not winning many ugly games.
well, they want to be Josh Jacobs and Jonathan Abram, right? That's who they want to represent their team. But by the way, both those guys coming off injuries. But it's just their defense isn't good enough they can't keep you down enough to play that way.
It's hard to run it on this team. I know Henry did, but Buckner was out. I think Autry was out. Buckner came back last week and had like 4 pressures and 2 sacks. Like Buckner's going to be a first-team All-Pro this year. You know, it'll be one of those. You know, hopefully long-term the Niners look back more fondly, but in the short term, the Colts they couldn't have got anything more out of this guy. Right? He's everything and more.
Yep.
So how do you block that guy? Now, Rodney Hudson's one of the best players in the league. Trent Brown's coming back this week. But the one thing I'd say for Trent Brown is like Buckner missed a game because the COVID list. And so it's like he just came back, hit the ground running, he was fine. Brown, in theory, he's a good player. But like when, I don't know. I mean, he comes back. I remember the last game he came back in. Remember he had to limp off the field. Jacobs to me is reliable. Abram is reliable in the sense that I know what type of player he is, and if he's on the field, he's going to be flying around hitting people and getting probably smoked in the passing game. Trent, could at a play in just be like walk over to the sideline. I don't know what to expect from him. And against a top flight defense, that is pretty important to feel good about. Like, is my tackle? Is he going to play the whole game? Is something up? Does he want to be here? It has been a pretty bizarre season with him. They're clearly not on the same page.
No. I mean, you need a right
tackle.
But
they just need him to fucking can we just get a couple good games out of you, please,
exactly.
for the $40 million we've paid you? Can you just give us 4 more? Because if he does, it'd be a huge boost for them, right?
It would be, but I think you're right. Again, this is in the NFL. We don't always get this for the last playoff spot because usually there's not enough of these teams. But because Baltimore's had some issues, they're in this position. And even we're recording this before Thursday Night Football. Who knows are the Patriots going to be 7-6 by the time the Raiders hit the field on Sunday? They're not favored tonight, but again, you'll know the answer.
But to me, even that game, like they're behind, like that game's somewhat irrelevant. But it's not if they're both 7-6, they beat them.
Exactly. But my point is just Baltimore's not usually the kind of team you end up in a playoff race with, and the fact is that Miami, to me, the odds are stacked against them just based on their schedule because they play the Patriots, then they play at the Raiders, then they finish at the Bills. That's what Miami has.
You know what's crazy? I've already discounted them.
I have too, but they've got it. Like if they look good this week, it'll be like, oh. I do think we'll get to them. I think it's Tua's biggest weekend on the field against the Chiefs. But no, I'm with you. I think everyone's discounted them. But the fact is, they lost of their 4 losses, John. 3 of them came in the first 4 weeks of the season.
Because if the Ravens beat the Browns, I think people will start saying like, how are the Ravens not going to be in the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
What could be huge for the Raiders is you beat Indy and the Browns take care of business for you.
Yep.
Really, if you're the Raiders, you start rooting for the Browns. Just take hold of a spot, knock the Browns out.
That's right. Yep.
Same with the
Steelers.
Because
the Browns, you have to be a game better than the Browns.
Yeah.
Because they beat you. So.
No, the Raiders beat the Browns.
I'm sorry. Yes, you can be even with the Browns.
Yeah, but they're already so far behind them. It doesn't, to me. I don't think they're catching them. I don't think anyone's catching them because they're getting to 10, and I don't see to me the Raiders aren't getting to 10 if they lose this game because it's not happening.
Yeah. They got the Giants and the Jets, the Browns. Yeah. So that's your point. They're getting to 10 because of that game. Yeah.
I actually think there's probably a pretty decent chance they win 11. Right? They are just better than the Giants.
Who's calling this game, by the way?
Someone DM'd me yesterday. Is like, is it Romo Nance? I was like, well, it might be. Is the game at 125 or 105?
It should be Romo Nance. Honestly, well, could it be?
If it's at 105, it's not them.
Yeah, it's 105. So, but there's not.
Is there on
Falcons
game?
Chargers? That's the 125 game.
So maybe
unless there's, you know what? There's 2 NFC games that are both. There's Packers Lions and Saints Eagles. No.
They could be doing a morning CBS game.
Normally there's an easy way to Patriots, Rams,
What week
Dolphins,
is this?
Chiefs. Maybe
14?
Dolphins, Chiefs would make a lot of sense, right? Yeah,
I got
week
it right
14.
here.
My guess is Dolphins, Chiefs.
And your guess is right.
Thank goodness.
The Raiders have. What time's the Raider game?
105.
They got Ian Eagle, Charles Davis,
All right.
Evan Washburn.
That's what I'm talking about.
Niners got Myers, Greg Jennings.
Okay, here we go.
So